everyone, welcome back to English Leap Podcast. I'm Jenie, and today we're going to challenge something that literally every English learner has done.
And I'm Brian. Jenie told me what we're covering today, and honestly, I've been thinking about this for a while. And I'm Brian. Jenie told me what we're covering today, and honestly, I've been thinking about this for a while. Yeah, and they're frustrated because they're studying so much. They're putting in the effort, but the results aren't there.
And here's what we want to tell them today. It's not your fault. It's because you're studying. That's the problem. The solution is to stop studying and start speaking.
Wait, stop studying?
Yes. Stop spending your time studying grammar rules and vocabulary lists. Start spending your time actually speaking and having conversations.
But doesn't studying help you speak?
Not really. In fact, studying can actually make it harder to speak, and that's what we're going to explore today.
Okay, this is interesting. Let's dive into this. So first, let's understand what you mean by studying. What do you mean by that?
Studying is when you consciously try to learn language through rules. You open a textbook or an app, you learn grammar, you memorize vocabulary, you do exercises, you study.
Like traditional language classes?
Exactly. Traditional language classes, textbook learning, apps where you memorize vocabulary, all of that is studying.
And learning is different?
Yes. Learning is when your brain absorbs language naturally through exposure and use. It's what happens when you're immersed in the language, when you're hearing it, speaking it, using it for real communication.
So studying is intentional, but learning is more passive?
Not necessarily passive, but it's different. With learning, you're focused on communication, not on rules. You're trying to express ideas and understand meaning. Your brain absorbs the patterns without you consciously studying them.
Which one is more effective?
Learning is infinitely more effective because learning is how human brains actually acquire language. Studying is how schools try to teach it. But schools aren't super effective at producing fluent speakers, right?
Yeah, I mean, look at how many people study English in school and never learn to speak it.
Exactly, because studying doesn't prepare you for speaking. It teaches you rules and vocabulary, but speaking requires something different.
What does speaking require?
Speaking requires the ability to think in the language, to retrieve words quickly without translating, to construct sentences automatically without thinking about rules. And those abilities come from practice and exposure, not from studying.
So studying is actually wasting time that could be spent speaking.
In many cases, yes, because every hour you spend studying is an hour you're not spending practicing real communication.
Okay, so from a brain science perspective, how does language learning actually work?
Your brain learns language through pattern recognition and muscle memory. You hear a pattern over and over. Your brain recognizes it. Then you practice producing that pattern. Over time, producing it becomes automatic.
So repetition and practice?
Repetition and practice in real communicative contexts. Your brain doesn't learn from doing 50 grammar exercises. It learns from hearing real language and producing real language.
Can you explain that?
So like a native English speaker hears contractions hundreds of times a day. I'm going, he's here, we're leaving, over and over and over. Your brain hears the pattern. Eventually, when you speak, your brain automatically produces contractions because you've heard them thousands of times.
But a learner studying might learn the rule about contractions. They understand it, but they haven't heard them thousands of times or produced them thousands of times, so it doesn't become automatic.
Exactly. Your brain is built for pattern recognition and production, not for learning rules. Rules are useful for explaining patterns, but they don't teach you the patterns themselves.
So fluency comes from repetition?
Fluency comes from repetition in real communicative contexts, speaking to real people about real things. That's when your brain really internalizes language.
How much repetition are we talking about?
Thousands of hours. Native speakers have heard thousands of hours of language, and they've produced thousands of hours of language. That's why they're fluent. There's no shortcut.
So studying can't replace that?
No. Studying can help you understand patterns, but it can't replace actual language production and exposure.
Here's something interesting I've noticed. Learners who study the most are often the least confident speakers.
Oh my God, yes, this is such a real thing.
Why is that?
Because studying makes you aware of everything you don't know. You're focused on rules, you're thinking about grammar, and the more you study, the more you realize how much there is to learn, so your confidence goes down.
So studying makes you feel less prepared?
Exactly. Whereas someone who just speaks a lot, even if they make mistakes, develops confidence because they're actually communicating successfully. People understand them, conversations happen.
So the studying mindset is always looking for what's wrong?
Yes. When you're in studying mode, you're critiquing yourself, you're thinking about rules, you're worried about making mistakes. But when you're in speaking mode, you're focused on communication. Did the person understand? Did the conversation happen? That's success.
So studying creates insecurity?
For sure. The paradox is that the more you study, the more insecure you become about your English. But the more you speak, the more confident you become, even if you make mistakes.
So the solution is to stop studying and just speak?
Not completely stop studying, but prioritize speaking. Make speaking the main thing, and only study when it helps with speaking.
Here's something important. Native speakers didn't learn their language by studying grammar.
How did they learn?
They learned by hearing it and speaking it. From birth, children are immersed in language. They hear it all day, they try to produce it, they get corrected, they try again. That's it. No textbooks, no grammar lessons for children, just immersion and practice.
So the natural way humans learn language is through exposure and production.
Exactly. And that's the same way adult learners should learn. Not the same speed because we're not babies, but the same principle.
So if native speakers didn't study grammar, why do we teach English learners grammar?
Because traditional education is organized that way. Schools organize things into subjects and lessons. Grammar is easy to teach in a classroom, but it's not the most effective way to learn.
So learners are learning a way that's convenient for schools, not a way that actually works?
Bingo! And that's why so many learners can pass English tests but can't have conversations. The test is testing knowledge of rules, but speaking isn't about knowing rules.
You know, I want to tell a story that really illustrates this.
Tell me.
So I worked with this student named Sophia from Brazil. She was incredibly studious. She had been studying English for 12 years. 12 years.
And?
She knew more grammar than most English teachers. She could explain complex grammatical concepts, but when she tried to speak, she froze. She would pause for 10, 20 seconds trying to construct a sentence perfectly, and then she wouldn't even say it because she wasn't sure if it was correct.
That sounds painful.
It was. She was so frustrated. She said, "I've studied so much. Why can't I just speak?" And she wasn't alone. She had studied more than she needed to, but she hadn't practiced speaking enough.
What did you do?
I told her to stop studying and start speaking. I said, "From now on, you're going to have conversations with me 3 times a week. We're going to talk about whatever. You're going to speak for 30 minutes, you'll make mistakes, you'll not know words, but you're going to practice real communication."
And?
Within 2 months, her speaking improved dramatically. Not because she learned new grammar, she didn't study anymore, but because she practiced speaking in real conversations.
And her confidence?
Through the roof, because she was actually having conversations. People understood her. She was communicating. That's success.
So 12 years of studying, but 2 months of speaking made a bigger difference?
By far, because speaking is what matters. Speaking is the skill she wanted.
But here's what stops most learners. They want to speak, but they're terrified.
Terrified of what?
Of making mistakes, of sounding stupid, of being judged, of not knowing words, of freezing up, all of that.
Is that valid?
Totally valid. Speaking a language you're learning is vulnerable. You're putting yourself out there. You can fail publicly.
So how do people overcome that?
First, they have to realize that making mistakes is part of learning. Native speakers aren't judging you for mistakes. We make mistakes too. We misspeak, we forget words. It's normal.
And honestly, most native speakers are impressed that you're trying to speak English at all. They're not thinking negatively about your mistakes.
Second, they should practice speaking with people who are supportive, maybe other learners or patient native speakers or language partners, not in situations where they feel judged.
And once they get comfortable,
Then they gradually speak in more challenging situations, with native speakers they don't know, in professional settings, wherever. But you build up. You don't jump straight into the scariest situation.
so it's about managing fear while practicing.
Exactly. Fear is normal, but you can't let it stop you. You have to speak even when you're scared. That's the only way through.
Okay, so someone listening is thinking, I want to stop studying and start speaking, but how do I actually do that?
Step 1. Find speaking partners. Language partners, friends, tutors, whatever. People you can talk to.
Step 2. Commit to speaking regularly. Not just occasionally, regularly, like 3 times a week minimum.
Step 3. Accept that you'll make mistakes. Don't try to be perfect. Just communicate.
Step 4. Pick topics you're interested in. Don't have boring conversations. Talk about things you actually want to discuss.
Step 5. When you don't know a word, don't stop. Describe it. Use other words. Find a way to communicate. That's speaking.
Step 6. If you feel like you need grammar help with something specific, look it up. But don't spend hours studying. Just clarify the thing that's confusing you.
And most importantly, spend 90% of your language learning time speaking and listening to real English, not studying. So here's the main message. If you've been studying English and wondering why you still can't speak, it's not your fault. The study method isn't designed to produce speakers. It's designed to teach rules.
Real fluency comes from real practice, from thousands of hours of exposure and production, from having actual conversations.
And you can develop that by stopping your heavy study habits and starting to speak, even if you're scared, even if you make mistakes.
This week, I want you to find someone to speak English with. Could be a language partner, could be another learner, could be a tutor online. But find someone and have a conversation for at least 20 minutes.
And don't prepare. Don't study beforehand. Just show up and speak. See what happens.
Thanks so much for listening to English Leap Podcast. We really appreciate you. Keep speaking, keep practicing, and remember, you're closer to fluency than you think.
And if you got value from this episode, please like and subscribe. Leave a review. Tell us in the comments what's one thing holding you back from speaking English.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye.